All right, guys, we're going to open up Blender right here, and we're going to have some quick tips and pro tips and tricks and things like that really quick here. I'm going to try to make this maybe 20 minutes long, maybe a little bit longer, definitely under 30 minutes, folks. Going to be worth it, okay? I'm going to sham wow through a lot of my things that I know and my secret sauces. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that you've watched the basics video that I have on my channel and that you have already seen Charlie Banks's introductory video to his Blender add-on program here. So if you haven't, stop, go back and watch that stuff, okay? For everybody else, it's there, and you have a mouse with a scroll wheel and things like that. Let's proceed on forward. Speaking of the mouse with the scroll wheel, why is that important? Well, if I can't spin around and get in and out of this world and see what I need to see or be able to shift it, it makes it a little bit harder to enjoy this building process. I've seen some people try to do this on laptops, and it hurts me to watch it. It's so you can do it. I just feel like you're tripping over your feet and everything else. It's a mouse. It doesn't really cost that much. You can go to a Goodwill shop and pick these things up, thrift hand, third party, whatever you got to do. It's worth it. Now we've talked about that. Let's put something into the game. Let's grab some parts here. Let's go over to our plugin here. Close everything out that we don't want. Pull down our parts and pick something. I want something that's going to be orientated right. We're going to talk about how Blender moves and pivots and how it controls what is in demand when you're moving and pivoting. Let's talk about that real quick. That tab that I was just saying right there is down here. It's called Transform Pivot Point. This is super important. We're going to talk about individual origins. That would be spinning on your own axis. And then if I'm at a median point, then that means I'm holding your hand if you're across from me. Instead of us spinning in circles on our own axis, now we're holding hands and we have to spin together, correct? That's a good way for me to explain that. These are the two that I mainly use, so that's where I'm going to be using. You can play around with these other things. They do come into play, and we'll talk about them later. But this is quick tips and tricks, and not in-depth diving in. Hey, and Blender gurus out there, don't pick me apart. I only use this program for No Man's Sky. I'm learning as I go. If you have some other things to talk about, if you want to tell me and everybody else how to take these little tips and tricks further, please by all means link something or do it in the comments. And just remember that I am using the program for No Man's Sky, and that's all I've known it for. So don't pick me apart and tell me I'm garbage, because I already know. All right, I'm learning though. Okay, guys. So global here, local. This is transform orientations. This is something that you can play around with. I usually keep it on global or local on this as well. So global would be spinning along these lines, and then local would be wherever you're at. So like if you didn't want to orientate to the red and green that's on here, you would be orientating to your side. So you could be would be going this way, wherever you were at, it would orientate to that. So, and then we're going to go into some objects tabs. There's some really cool stuff in here that we're going to talk about. Transformations, mirrors. There's going to be some things that we do with apply. And then there's going to be some things in the objects tabs. We're going to talk about some add-ons. We won't use the add-ons. I do a video about add-ons. You can check that out. And we're just going to talk about some tips and tricks in there as well. So, and this might be at the top for you guys. I have my Blender orientated a certain way, but I have seen this up at top and then things on the left and the right. Blender can look a lot of different ways. I do a video on how I set mine up, so it makes it a little bit easier to follow along. But all this information is on your screen somewhere. It just might be at the top. Mine just happens to be at the bottom down here. Now let's get moving and build something, right? And talk about this stuff that I just, let's demonstrate those things that I just talked about. Let's go down and grab something like something weird orientated. That something has a part on one side, very lopsided, because I think you're going to get some weird results and get to see what it does extremely. So I'm going to grab a ray start. These are pretty. Now I'm going to scale this up. I'm going to scale it up by hitting S and scaling up. And we're going to pull out and look at this thing. Now, I don't follow all the shortcuts. I think you can hover over things. I'm a clicker. I come up and click my controls up here. So my move and rotates are big things. Scale, I don't use that because I can hit S and scale up. I do use move and the rotate and cursor sometimes. I'll show you guys that later. So right now I'm going to put it on move and I'm going to hit the Alt D, which is going to be duplicating it. And I love duplication. It really makes you be able to move really quickly within the program. Now, if I wanted this perfectly symmetrical, I would want to spin this around, correct? So I think we need to go to transform. Let's go down to object here, go into mirror and X. There we go. See how it spun it around? Now I'm on opposite sides. Looks cool, right? That's cool. That's very important. That mirror trick is super important. Let's go in here and grab both of these. I can take C and I get like this glass. I can scroll wheel out and I can grab everything. I can hit Alt D. Now, go back to my rotate over here. And this tab over here, this little square guy right here is going to give you some information within your world. It's going to give you local and rotational pieces. You can get some numbers by looking over here. So if I wanted that 90 degrees or whatever to be exact, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at that piece here and you can see I'm right. You can type it in if you're on a single piece. I don't know how to type it in if I'm on two pieces like this. I don't know how or why that is. But boom, I just hit that 90 degrees right there. I can do that. Now, if I'm on a single piece, see how it says 0? Now I moved it. Now I can take this and type 0 in there and hit enter, and it pops it back. But for some reason, if I had two pieces, it's only going to be the parent piece. There might be a way to set everything on it and do it. I'm not quite sure, but this is how I do this. And the information is all over there. I think that's enough information for you to make a judgment and to get exact if you want. And from here, I'm not going to really be worrying about that. I'm not trying to build anything exact. So I'm just going to take these again and just Alt D and spin them. And we're going to pretend that let's see. There we go. We're going to pretend that I just did this exact. All right. Now let's hit the C button and grab these all again. I'm going to move these up because in the world that would be on the ground. And let's talk about spinning these around. So as I'm spinning these, you can see, let's hit the rotate button. I'm rotating everything. Everything's holding hands right now. And let's say we don't want that. We can get some really odd results by going ahead and switching this down here. And now we have these active our median points. Transform pivot points would be the tab down here, and it's going to be how these things spin like we said. Let's talk about individual origins. Now this is going to be kind of cool when we start spinning things. You get some really neat results, especially with layering things. So you see how I do the Alt D, so we can Alt D this. Let's say we kept these like this, and then let's hit Alt D right now. Now I have another set of them here, and let's take these ones and start pivoting them on a weird axis. Sometimes you just have to play and see what happens. You know, I mean, you're going to get some odd, weird results. They're not always going to be what you want. Let's try. So we did the medium point. These are the individual origins. You definitely get different plays. So we could have everything pointed inwards or something like that. Now let's grab this again. This is where it starts getting really crazy. Let's grab this again. Let's hit Alt D. Let's move this up or something. Now let's go back to rotate and maybe move. Find which axis is going to act the best for us. That's kind of weird. And that just flipped it over. Global. Let's go local here. There we go. So you have to play with this and just kind of get different results. And it depends on how the object is orientated too. So that makes no sense. It's because we flipped them and they're orientated all right. We're getting weird results off of that. But you can see how we're doing things, and we're spinning things differently now. I get great results out of this, just not as I'm demonstrating it. But you can see the power of what we're doing, and when we're spinning things, it's going to be very cool. Let's delete this all again. Let's delete this here, and let's grab something like a little bit more. Let's grab a flag. Now let's scale this guy up. We're just going to do the same thing real quick as possible. I'm going to get right back to where we were. And I think this might be a little bit better of a demonstration. I'm just going to try to move it as quickly as possible to get to where we were. Oops, see, I'm spinning on that axis, and that's why I wanted to do that, because I think that really demonstrates this really well. So, global, individual, median point. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab that. Now we're going to spin. See how I think you're kind of seeing like how powerful this is. It changes how you're manipulating the pieces on so many different levels. And then you'll find yourself like, oh, I can change that. I can change them all at once. Or let's get some kind of weird design. That's kind of some weird stuff right there, I think. Let's take this, and now let's change the pivot points here. Now let's go in here and change this to individual origins, and then let's play with that just the way it is, and then we can go over here to global, and we'll change that to individual too. Because right now it'll be on it's kind of weird to explain, but they're working in conjunction, and you're definitely going to get odd results depending on how you spin these. You know, like that's something odd and weird, you know. I don't know what I'd use that for, but this, you know, you can make these happy accidents and then save them and maybe use them later. I mean, that is almost like a cool, I mean, just that curvature piece was neat looking. I don't know what I'd use that for, but I could see myself playing around. All right, so let's go back to the normal on that, and let's take this one to local as well. So we have a local, and then we have these on individual origins. And geez, I keep letting them go. All right, so I grabbed them all now. Now we're gonna get a whole different act, you know. This is where things get interesting, changing the local and global here, because now we're not going on the lines, we're going to individual, the way these are orientated in themselves. And now you can see we're getting some really odd results that are symmetrical, if you have symmetrical items and if they were already lined up symmetrically. This is a very terrible example, but I think it shows you visually better of what is happening at the same time and how these things are acting. And to me, this is some golden sauce right here. This is where I get some really odd results. And I can display, I can come in here purposefully and do something, or I just come in here and do some weird stuff. Like I've never done that with flags before, and I thought I got some weird results, and I seen some ideas in my head that I thought I could use. So, and that is just playing around with these two tabs here to get different spin orientations and rotation parameters to respond to your movements. And that is priceless in this. I think it's really cool. Where I'd use this at, I don't know, but that's odd and weird. I don't know what I'd do with that, but it's super neat. And let's move this, see how now I'm orientated. As I move, the move button now is going to be different as well. So I'm moving everything on their axes to their own axis. I'm not in the world anymore. The world doesn't matter. Everything's on its own axis, and it's probably weird to compute this. I'd imagine if you had a whole bunch of pieces in here, you wouldn't just be able to grab this and move it. And that is odd. And that right there is going to get you some weird results with all kinds of different pieces. They all act differently. I can't explain to you how mind-boggling and big this is. All right. That's a really weird thing. And doing the scaling too. So scaling is all local, and it's everything. It acts differently if you're on the local here. Very powerful. You need to remember to switch these back and forth That is one of my biggest problems that I have, is remembering to go back and forth. Now, if I want to scale, I'm scaling down globally. And if I want to spin or do anything else now, I'm spinning and moving along the right lines. My axis lines are represented in here correctly now again. If I want to rotate, I'm rotating within the world correctly again. Now, you have to remember to put those back, but you always have Control Z, and undo. So that's cool. All right, so let's start over here again. Let's delete this and go into another new piece here. And let's talk about the Objects tab. Let's grab a cylinder in here, and let's pull that up and scale it up so we can see it really good. And I'm all disoriented in here, but that's okay. Let's see the Object tab. Let's go ahead and talk about some mesh things here. We have a video on adding some more mesh items that I have, but for now I'm just going to grab an item that I know that you guys already have in Blender, but I do a video on adding extra meshes in here. It's in the edit folder and preferences. Go in there and add extra objects, meshes, and what's the other one called? Curves, I think. I don't know. It's something else. I can't remember it right now. Meshes are important though. So let's go in here and add one. If we go into this add tab, and at the very bottom we see meshes. Now we see all this stuff in here. We can grab all this stuff and put it in there, but it's not going to translate over to Blender or to No Man's Sky. This is something that you have to use a internal trick to get this to translate over to the No Man's Sky pieces, so you can export them within the game. I do a video on this, but we're going to touch in on it really quickly here. So let's make a monkey face. Let's go ahead and grab that monkey, and he's in there. We're going to scale him up big. Let's go ahead and move him up and out of the way. Let's get him over here like that. Now I don't want this. For this to, I think a good object for this is a sphere, because it doesn't have any orientation, it's malleable, and it takes the shape of anything. It's like water. So I want to make this act like this is. Everything I would do to this, I want it to mimic this. So let's hit Shift and touch this. Now I have these kind of both highlighted here, and I'm going to hit Control P, and we're going to set parent to object. Now let's hit that. Now what I do here is going to go here. Now back over here, we are in this little box where we had all this information where our rotations and stuff are at. If we look below this and scroll down a little bit, we're going to see a tab called Instancing. Now we're going to open this and play in here. Now I'm just going to hit vertices, and I'm going to move this up slightly, and we can see that looks like a little monkey face. All right, pretty cool. That's the Blender monkey. Now this is not in the game yet. Right now these are like little ghost images here. They're not above my head. You can see above my head there's no part count. So we got to get these in there, and that is going to require us to go into the Object tab and go to Apply. And at the very bottom of this next page over here, you see Make Instances Real. Let's hit that. Now above my head you can see all these parts are in here, and we can just get rid of this now. All right, so we've got all these little balls in here, and we can see that he's pretty looking good. I think if we shrunk all these balls down locally, we might be able to get some more detail out of this monkey. Now, if we highlight all these with our button here, and we hit the scale button, well, that scales everything together, right? Because they're all holding hands. That's where this power comes in. Let's go into individual origins, folks. Now let's hit the scale button. All right. Now it's kind of weird. Now it's almost like an eyeball. It looks kind of weird. I don't know. Maybe I can change this one out for something else in here and make it look a little bit cooler. I don't know. But we changed these to individual origins, and I feel like that would be something that I would use that for. Or all kinds of different things. Scaling everything down individually or going bigger. So now that we've got this detailed the way we like individual origins, now I want to make the whole thing bigger. So now I can go to medium point, go back to medium point anyway, because that's the way you want to work, and I can blow it up. And we've made the face. All I'd have to do is export this, and this would be in there with spheres. We'd look at it, we'd see the little monkey face and be like, ooh, oh, wow, it's a monkey face. How did he do that? Cool, right? Now it's not just monkey faces. There's a lot of cool mesh objects in there. So let's go into mesh objects and look. And then I told you we can add some more stuff. There's swirly bolts and gears and pipes and toruses and all kinds of different objects and stuff. It gets crazy, man. Very, very cool. Another really cool one was the mathematical functions in here. This is where I get some of my geometric shapes and the really cool mathematical equation type things that are in the game that just really blow my mind. I love this in here, and you just use the same method as I just showed you to do that. So, all right, what do we have here? We got rid of our monkey. Let's do something really quickly here. Let's go into add something really quick. Let's go into the mesh and the mathematical function. Let's go to XYZ. I am going to go into operator presets, and I'm going to grab me a helix. And let's zoom in and see it. I'm going to just trust it. I'm just going to grab this thing and blow it up. And let's see here. Let's see. It's got a lot of pieces in there. We can see. Let me hit the tab button here. I can see over on the bottom here, let's see how many faces it has. 16,000 faces. I need to fix that. I had this highlighted now. Now this is a thing about using this, and we need to take these junctions down because the game is going to want to put a part at every junction, and as of we have right now, it's going to throw in 16,000 pieces down here because for every face would be a piece, and that's how it translates as far as my knowledge goes. And I don't want that, so I'm going to go in here and down below this tab right here that we've been playing in, there's a little gear wrench icon. We're going to hit that and go into modifiers. Now this modifier that we're going to be using is called Decimate. Let's grab that thing. All right, now there's different ways to get different results in here. You can maybe play around, but for this particular item, I think I'm going to go unsubdivide. See, I've got it down to 4,200. Let's do it. Oh no, we can't do it again. We're gonna lose information. 4,200. I think that's fine. Let's see what we get with that. Let's grab this. We're gonna come back and do the same thing. Let's hit Shift, grab them both, Control P, grab the object. We're gonna go up to the tab above it, go down to our instancing, hit the vertices. That's weird. That's very weird. I was not expecting that, but I love it and I like it. Now let's make this real. Let's go to Objects and go to Apply and make instances real. Boom, we have that. How many objects do we have over there? Stupid Steam in my way. 42, just like it said. So now we can go ahead and delete this. Now, this is super big, and we're not going to be able to get all that in there, but we're going to play around with some things now. So let's take the whole thing here. It's super big. Let's grab the whole thing. All right. Let's go to rotate. Let's make this flat and try to work with this here. Move it up. All right. Now, there's some other... Right next to the add button right here, we have objects. Now we have some really cool things that we can do within objects here. We have a transform, we have the mirror, we have the apply that we used, and this could be used for a few different other things as well. And then the convert to, I can show you guys here in a minute. The video is gonna get here almost to the end, folks. I'm trying to slam as much information as I can at you guys. Let's go to transform button here, and we have everything grabbed and we're on global. We can go to sphere, and this would kind of like push everything into a rounder object. It works really good if you have more things jumbled up. It'd push everything out into a sphere shape. It kind of did that. It wasn't really what I wanted, but you can see how it flattened everything out. Let's go ahead and Control Z that and take it back to where it was. All right, another cool thing in here in the Transform tab, back down here, is the push-pull. This is kind of like imploding and imploding, I feel like. So let's grab that, and now we've imploded it until it like reversed itself. I think, using some of the items that we did last time down here, like how we spun things weird and then imploding them, I get some really crazy stuff out of it that blows my mind when I look at it in the game. Remember, you're going to be this tiny little person standing on this in the game. If your computer can handle it, this is mind-boggling stuff. It's very wicked. Anyway, push, pull, that's very cool. Anything else in there that's going to be really good for you? Bending, let's talk about that. That could be a Shift W, and shearing. Shearing's going to kind of like, that's what it is. It's shearing in a direction. I think it's also depends on where the pivot point is, and the pivot point right now is down here. And now we can move this pivot point. Let's talk about that Shift W, which was the, what do they call that there? Transform. Shift W is bend. And this is kind of cool for making, like, let's say there was a cosmic wind coming through here and it was blowing some of this oddly, and we're going to make it look organic and real. Shift W is going to push it. You see how it's pushing from, this is called the cursor, and some things are going to behave off of the position of where that is at in the world. So let's move that little cursor. I can go up here and Control Cursor, and let's say we move that cursor here now. Now that Shift W is going to bend it from that point and act different. And it's neat. For now, let's move that cursor way back here and do a wind shear from way off or something. It's blowing it slowly off into the space galaxy. So a little odd. No, not exactly what I want, but I've made dandelions and worms and things look really organic and real feeling by doing this, because you're not going to get, you can make curvatures and stuff like that, but this gives you a more of a natural chaotic curve is a good way to say it, I guess. I don't know. I like that trick. It's kind of cool. It's something that you can use. Anyway, what else do we have in here? Two spheres, shear, bend, push, and pull. We've covered all those. Mirror, I think we've kind of touched over that, didn't we? If we wanted to spin this around, and that depends on global and local. We can spin those around. Let's say we Alt-D this, which is a lot, and we move one. And we want to take this one and make it symmetrical on the other side. So let's take that whole and then go into object. Let's go into mirror, local, global Y. Yeah, that it is. That's it. So now if I push these together, it'd be like angel wings touching. It'd be perfectly on the opposite sides of each other. So that's it, man. I think that's a pretty cool thing right there. And I think that really touches up on a lot of the really simple basics, and we wrapping this video up before 30 minutes. I think I shammed a lot at you and told you a lot of really cool tips and tricks. We built some really weird, cool things. I personally want to see what this looks like in the game. I don't have a base on here right now, but that's pretty interesting looking, I think. This would be really cool in the game. We are at 8,000 parts. And they're just spheres. I think this would mostly show up. Very cool, guys. So anyway, I thought this was cool to do. Hit that like and subscribe if you want to. And go check out Charlie Banks's videos and stuff like that. If you are watching this all the way through and you're thinking about getting in here, it's a little bit tough. There's a learning curve. But I think if you take it slow and don't be like, hey, I need to build I want to do, the Statue of Liberty tomorrow, you could, but slow down, man. Have a little fun with it first and evolve with it. And I think that's the best way to go about this. And on that, I'll see you guys on the next video. See you later.